Welcome to the Dice Tower, a series of video reviews about board and card games. Here are your hosts, Tom Vasel and Sam Healey.
One of the most popular games in existence, welcome back by the way.
Oh, hello.
One of the most popular games is Coup. Many Coup sets have been sold, and many games have tried to mimic Coup, or actually several games have. I don't know that many have done so successfully. This is the first one that I've seen that a lot of people have really jumped onto. Just off of Kickstarter, Operation F.A.U.S.T, F-A.U.S.T, which stands for something about rescuing paintings. Okay, this is the same as that movie. What was that movie called where they were going in and rescuing the paintings from World War II?
The Monuments Men?
Yes,
something like that?
That's basically the theme. That's the theme of this game, where you're going in and trying to get these paintings, and for some reason you don't want anyone else that paintings.
Right. I guess you want all the glory for yourself or something. I don't understand.
You want the promotion after the war's over, man.
Right, that's it.
All right, so this game goes up to 6 players. We're going to talk about it now. Here we go.
The currency of this game is Intel. So players are going to start the game with 5 Intel. They're also going to start with some cards. You have these operation cards here. There are 5 different operation cards. Players will start with 2 of them. The goal of this game is to get paintings. You're going to have 4 that are face down on the table and a pile of paintings. Each of these paintings are going to be different types of paintings. Let's take a look here. There are regular paintings, there are degenerate paintings, and there are forgery paintings. Forgery, each painting has a value at the bottom. Your goal is to get $1 million worth of paintings. Now, as you play this game, forgeries aren't worth anything, actually. And in fact, you can't win if you have a forgery. But there are forgery documents. You can get 1 forgery document for each forged painting that you have. And it essentially turns that painting into a legal painting. Now, on a player's turn, they have different actions that they can take. They can always pay 4 Intel to draw a new plot card. You can have more than 2 plot cards, but there's a limit based on the number of players that are in the game. Or you can pay 10 Intel to draw an art card and add it. So you can basically get an art card if you have 10 Intel. Or you can pay 3 Intel to take a forged document cards. But what will most likely happen on your turn is you're going to use one of these plot cards here from your hand as an action. Now, each plot card has 2 different things that it can be done. One of those requires you just to simply say you have the card in your hand. The other requires you to discard the card, and there are different actions for each. So, for example, the French Resistance, by the way, you'll notice these numbers here on the cards. That's simply to show how many of that card is in the game. But the French Resistance, if I say I have French Resistance in my hand, I can take 2 Intel for every card. So I can say I have 2 French Resistance, or if I have 3, I would get 6 Intel. Or I can discard it to draw 2 new plot cards and then discard any 1 plot card from my hand. So it's a way to get more plot cards. The Spy here, I can look at 2 of the art cards that are in the art cage, the 4 face down cards. Or I can receive a -3, I can receive basically a 3 discount when I discard the Spy card to get when I buy a painting. So normally paintings cost 10. I can say, oh, I'm discarding a spy, now they get 7. Or I'm discarding 2 spies to get it for 4. There's also a double agent card, which lets you steal 3 Intel from another player, or look at an art card either in the middle or that another player has. The art dealer, you can say you have it just to take 3 Intel, or you can take an art card, trade any art card you hold for a random art card held by another player. And then finally, we have the allies. You take 3 Intel from the pool, and you can say you have the Intel when someone does the double agent or the art dealer against you. By the way, the double agent, when you see you look at a card, if you look at someone else's card and it's degenerate, you can steal that card from them. That's really the only purpose of art being degenerate. Or you can look at all the cards held by another player and steal a forgery if they happen to have one with the allies card. Now, you can say you have these cards in your hand, but you might be lying. You discard cards face down, people don't know exactly what you have. Any other player can call you out on it, as long as that player has at least 2 intel. And if they call you out and you are lying, then you just basically say, sorry, I was lying, and you have to pay them half your intel and you can't take the action. If you call somebody out and they were telling the truth, then they must show the cards and say, hey, I was telling the truth. Then you have to lose half your intel. However, they lose the cards. Now, they will get to draw replacements for those cards. But so when you call someone out and they're telling the truth, sometimes you might do it just to get rid of those cards in their hand. Someone might have 4 French resistance in their hand and they're essentially getting 8 intel every turn. I might call them out even if I think they might be telling the truth, just to make sure they get rid of those cards. If at any point you fall below 2 plot cards, then you automatically draw up the 2. You always have 2 plot cards. And that's pretty much it. Players are going to be maneuvering around and going around taking turns playing plot cards and possibly telling the truth, possibly lying. Eventually someone will get $1 million worth of paintings with no forgeries, and that player will declare that they have won.
F.A.U.S.T, F-A-U-S-T, stands for Operation Fine Art Underground Stolen Treasures.
That's cool. That's cool.
Interesting.
We need to have a cool anagram.
You want to come up with like a cool anagram for us?
No, I don't know. I just like cool anagrams.
I just want to have a secret layer. That's all I want.
All right.
What do you think this is?
Operation F.A.U.S.T does some interesting things that I haven't seen before. It has very similar mechanisms to coup, like we said. And in this game, when you play a card, someone can call you out on it, but instead of losing, they lose money. I'm just going to call it money for the rest of the game. What is it?
It's actually intel.
Intel. Okay, so you lose intel as someone calls you out, but you're not out of the game.
It means intelligence.
But when you call somebody out, if they're incorrect, their cards, they'll lose their cards. And you also have the option of discarding the card or just saying you have the card. And there's also a whole lot of options. So really, for your first several games, you're probably going to be, or maybe only your first game, but you're going to be looking at that card a lot. Oh, I can do this, I can do this. Zee will say, I have such and such a card. I'm like, oh, what does that do? It took me a bit to get into that because there's a lot going on.
Right.
Do you think there's too much of that? Too many different things to do? I think there's 14 things you can claim, or 12. There's a lot.
I don't think there's too much. I just think you just have to focus on what you do have for right now. And if somebody says something else, you have the player aid that's there. You're doing a what? And you can read real quick. The player aid is always in front of you, so I don't think that it's...
Well, the problem, I know the player aid's there, but if you're going to lie, you really need to know the cards.
Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. But I think what you're probably leaning towards is that for the first few games, you're probably not going to want to lie too much because you're not going to be able to lie effectively.
Effectively.
So maybe your first few games there's going to be a lot of truth, and then after everybody is comfortable with what everything does, that's when the deception starts to come in.
Now, I feel like the theme of this game is pretty good. I enjoy it. It's a unique theme. The art is good on the cards. It shows, the different people. I do think that some of the stuff is like barely there. For example, half the paintings are degenerate. So you have to figure out, what does that even mean? You look it up. It has like a minor thing. There's one ability that affects it. You can look at someone else's painting. If it's degenerate, steal it.
And this is where I have to come in and answer your previous question where I say, yes, there's too many powers. That's something that could have been easily cut out. Wouldn't have really made a difference.
I don't think so.
You don't think that?
No, I mean, I'm agreeing with you. I don't think it would have made a difference taking that out.
Right. And you could have cleaned up how many different card types there are, solidified that up a little bit, solidified that painting deck a little bit, and it would have been a more streamlined game, I think.
Now, I like this game very much. I don't love it. I'm more of in the middle. I like it, and to me, it's a pleasant experience. I think, like Zee said, it could have been streamlined a little bit better. But I feel like it's interesting because if you go with the mindset, ooh, it's lie, really you lie very infrequently in the course of the game. And that takes it, you have to kind of change your mindset to that point. But you can lie. You just got to be prepared for people to call you out on it.
Right.
My first game of it, I think everybody was lying a lot. But I just didn't know to call them on it. I called a couple people on it, and I nailed them with it. But for the most part, I was in a group of people that had already played the game multiple times, and that was my first playing experience with Operation F.A.U.S.T. So when I came in, I didn't really know what I was doing. I understood the mechanics, I understood how to play the game, but the differences there I was having trouble with. So I really told the truth most of the time. Near the end of the game, I lied a couple times so that I could get what I needed in order to try to get the win. And so it took me about the space of 3/4 of a game to really kind of come into and a complete understanding of what all of the different powers did.
Right.
So that's not really that big of a learning curve. I mean, there are some games where it takes 2-3 plays before you really understand everything that's going on.
Sure.
3/4 of the way into my first game, I kind of got it.
Now, I will say that even though the game goes to 8 players, not 6, 8 players, I really feel like that's too many. The more, I kind of like it at 3, 4, 5, because there's that whole watching what everyone else does and counting. When there's a whole bunch of people in there, it gets really confusing. There's a lot of, several people can accuse someone of being a liar. You got to figure out who was first.
Yeah.
I don't know if I like it that many. I feel like it should be more of an intimate thing where you're all staring at each other.
Tons of downtime. I mean, it's way too much downtime.
So,
I don't know. Downtime in an 8-player game, yeah, there's downtime, but it's because you need to listen to what people are calling and what people are claiming that they have. Because in an 8-player game, the distribution of those cards, because there aren't a whole lot of cards,
Yeah, but I have less information.
No, you probably the same amount, because if so-and-so says something, so-and-so says something, pretty soon,
Right,
one of them's lying.
I still have a really tiny piece of the pie.
I understand, but if multiple people are calling the same thing in a row, one of them is lying.
Right.
And you're pretty much, you know that for a fact.
Sure,
So
yeah.
the next time it comes around, they do the same thing again, call them. Maybe you got them, maybe you didn't. But I think in an 8-player game, the distribution of those cards is more widely distributed, I guess you could say, or is more wide, without being redundant. So you will probably call people more often, and you have to listen to what they're calling in order to be able to do that. So the downtime that you'd say is there is, I think, necessary.
For me, I enjoyed the theme, and I liked the game style. I think it could have been tightened a little bit and maybe some changes, but for what it is, it works well. Again, I emphasize I like it between 3 and 5, so I'll give it 1 stolen painting up. I enjoy it. I think it's unique and interesting, and I want to support that.
Okay, great. Well, I'm going to go on a little rant then.
Go ahead.
I'm going to be unique and supportive. I'm pretty much going to disagree with just about everything both of these guys are saying. I don't really like the look of the game. I don't like the theme. I think it's a boring theme. You're grabbing paintings. I don't want to engage in that in a game. It's a great endeavor. Please save paintings. I just don't want to do it.
You mean in a game?
In a game, yeah. I
But bean farming.
thought the game play was particularly boring. This game had just about nearly 0 engagement for me. Taking a turn in this game is really boring. You end up doing very similar things just about every turn, which is really boring. Nothing about this game really grabbed me. I did not like the idea of grabbing intel to then turn that into paintings. I thought the 2-level system didn't work well. I don't like that it might take me longer to get to 10 intel, and I might still get a better painting than you. That doesn't make sense.
That's just randomness, though. I mean,
Right. That's my point. I'm not a huge fan of Coup anyway, okay? I give Coup like a 6,
I've never played Coup,
okay?
so I'm not
But
even using Coup as an example.
is cutthroat right away. And when you get to 10 points or however many it is in that, then you have 1 victory point. You don't then draw from a bag and a token has 1 victory point or 3 or 2 or none. That's random. It's just 10 becomes 1 winning point or whatever they're called. It's quicker. If you're wrong, boom, half your life is gone. After that, you're out. 10 minutes, we're done. This is much longer than that, but it gives me the same engagement level. So why am I playing for 45 minutes to then randomly get a painting, which then I missed the million or whatever you need by 5,000 and you won? Great. I just got hosed.
No, I think you're skipping a big chunk of what this game is built around, and that is the player interaction. You're just focusing on the mechanics. You're completely throwing out this whole level of player interaction and watching what each other's doing and trying to read. It's like a poker game.
Right.
Poker's boring if you really think about it, but what makes it exciting? The interactions you have with the other players at the table, trying to call their bluff.
Nothing, but okay.
Well, I mean, I'm just trying to call their bluff, trying to read their tells, so to speak. I think that's part of the catch that this game has. And as far as the other things that you said, I mean, you realize how many games that are out there that you basically do the same thing every
No, I get that. I get
time.
it. And I totally get that. I'm clearly an outlier of the people that enjoy, or you guys clearly. I understand that there's an audience for this game. I'm way outside of that, apparently.
Well, I need some thumbs.
I'm going to give it 2 thumbs down. Is that the worst I can give it?
It is.
Yeah. Yep, that's absolutely the worst you can give it.
All right, Sam. What about you?
I'm going to give it one solid group of French resistance fighters up. It's not a completely exciting experience, but it is not the snooze fest that Zee is saying that it is.
Right.
It is engaging, I would say, on the level of while Spyfall is goofy fun, I think it still has the same level of interaction as Spyfall does in a different way, if that makes any sense. So Spyfall is goofy. This is probably a little bit more. You're really trying to see are they pulling your bluff or what have you.
All right. Well, lots of different opinions there. That's Operation Faust. Check it out.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.